Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be tackling something a bit different.
Okay.
The secret history of the world. You've given us excerpts from a book with that same name. And I've got to say, even flipping through it has me intrigued. I'm already sensing some potential aha moments.
I bet.
It's a blend of history, mythology, science,
Yeah.
even a dash of conspiracy theory,
Wow.
all rolled into one.
It's quite a mix, isn't it? It feels like the author is trying to reveal a deeper layer of reality, connecting these seemingly disparate pieces of information to get at some hidden truth.
Exactly. And to help us unpack all of this, I brought in an expert who excels at synthesizing diverse information.
Yeah.
And making those connections that might not be obvious at first glance. So what jumped out at you from these excerpts?
Well, right off the bat, the concept of hyperdimensional reality caught my attention. It's a pretty mind-bending idea. Imagine a reality as a pond with unseen depths below, influencing everything on the surface.
Okay, I like that analogy. So are we talking about a world of the future somehow shaping our present?
That's one way to interpret it, and it really makes you question our understanding of time, doesn't it?
It does. Are we truly making choices that shape our future? Or is it all a script, written in these unseen depths, so to speak?
It's a question philosophers have grappled with for centuries. But what's intriguing is how the book ties this concept of hyperdimensional reality to the nature of time itself. It suggests that past, present, and future might coexist in some way, challenging that linear view we tend to have.
So are we talking about time as a cycle rather than a straight line?
That's one interpretation, and it really makes you wonder, if time isn't what we think it is, then what about history?
Right.
The book delves into some pretty unconventional views on historical events, even hinting at the possibility of advanced lost technologies.
Like what kind of technologies? I'm picturing something out of a science fiction movie.
Well, the book uses the example of ancient megalithic structures, like Stonehenge and the pyramids. The author questions how these structures could have been built. With the tools and techniques we conventionally attribute to those time periods.
Okay, so the author is suggesting that our understanding of ancient civilizations might be incomplete. Maybe they knew more than we give them credit for.
Right.
It makes you wonder if some knowledge has been lost or forgotten over time.
Exactly, and that's where the book's discussion of alchemy and esoteric knowledge comes in.
Okay, let's unpack that a little. We have this fascinating anecdote about Dr. Albert Schweitzer and the alchemist who claimed to possess the Philosopher's Stone. It really highlights that enduring human fascination with transformation, both physical and spiritual, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. The Philosopher's Stone.
Yeah.
That idea of transmuting lead into gold. It's a metaphor for achieving enlightenment, for transforming our base selves into something more refined.
But there's also the literal aspect of alchemy, the pursuit of physical transformation. The excerpt mentioned Dr. Schweitzer tried to use a tiny scraping of the Philosopher's Stone to transmute lead into gold himself.
And the results were intriguing, to say the least. Instead of transforming the lead into gold, it essentially vaporized most of it.
Wow.
And turned the rest into a glassy substance.
So maybe the Philosopher's Stone is more metaphorical than literal. Or perhaps there's a specific way to use it that's been lost over time.
The book also mentions a more modern alchemist named Fulcanelli, a mysterious figure who purportedly achieved enlightenment in the 20th century and then vanished without a trace.
Okay, that's a story that definitely sparks the imagination. What do you make of it?
It speaks to the idea that there might be individuals who have tapped into this hidden knowledge, this deeper understanding of reality. But the question remains, how do we access it?
Right.
The book seems to suggest that shamanic practices might offer a path.
Right, the shamanic practices, the death and rebirth idea. That's a powerful theme. Do you see any connection between this and the book's claims about cyclical history?
There might be a link. Shamanism at its core is about maintaining balance, harmony between humanity, nature, and the cosmos. If societies lose touch with those principles, they become unstable and eventually collapse.
So it's a warning from history. If we don't learn from the past, we're doomed to repeat it. Do you think we're headed towards a similar collapse in our own time?
The book certainly seems to suggest that possibility. It points to numerous signs: environmental degradation, social unrest, political corruption, things that can destabilize a society.
It's a sobering thought, but I also sense a glimmer of hope in the excerpts. It's like the author is saying that we have the power to change course if we wake up to the reality of our situation.
That's right. The book emphasizes the importance of individual transformation, of waking up from what it calls the matrix of illusion and reclaiming our innate power and wisdom.
So it's not just about changing the systems. It's about changing ourselves first. But what does that even mean? What is this matrix of illusion?
Think of it as a web of beliefs and perceptions that limit our understanding of reality. It's like we're trapped in a dream, unaware of our true potential.
Right.
The book suggests that by questioning our assumptions and seeking out hidden knowledge, we can break free from this illusion.
And that's where this deep dive comes in, right? By exploring these ideas together, by questioning our assumptions, and by expanding our awareness, we're taking steps towards that individual transformation.
Exactly. It's like shining a light on the shadows, revealing the hidden structures that shape our reality.
Okay.
And that's where things start to get really interesting, because the book also touches on some pretty controversial topics like conspiracies and government manipulation.
Right. There's an excerpt that claims accepting false knowledge is worse than knowing nothing at all. It makes you wonder, how do we discern truth from falsehood? In a world of competing narratives, where does healthy skepticism end and paranoia begin?
Those are crucial questions to consider, especially in our current information landscape.
Right.
We're bombarded with information from all sides, and it's not always easy to tell what's accurate or reliable.
It's like navigating a minefield of information. So how do we avoid getting blown up by misinformation or falling into the trap of blind belief?
The book emphasizes the importance of critical thinking, of questioning everything we hear and see, of seeking out multiple perspectives, and of being willing to change our minds when presented with new evidence.
So it's about becoming active seekers of truth rather than passive recipients of information.
Exactly.
That reminds me of another intriguing concept the book introduces, the idea that certain historical figures, like Abraham and Moses, may be composite figures, representing multiple individuals, or even archetypes.
It challenges the traditional view of history, doesn't it?
It does. It suggests that the stories we've been told about the past might be more symbolic than literal. It makes you wonder if there's a hidden history, a secret narrative that's been suppressed or distorted over time. That ties into the book's discussion of ancient Egypt, specifically the myth of Thoth winning 5 extra days in the year from the moon goddess Isis.
It's a fascinating myth that highlights the Egyptians' sophisticated understanding of astronomy and their ability to reconcile lunar and solar calendars.
But could there be a deeper layer of meaning to this myth?
The book seems to suggest that possibility. It hints at a deeper understanding of time, one that goes beyond our linear model.
Okay, so we've got this concept of cyclical history, the idea of a hidden past, the possibility of lost technologies and esoteric knowledge. It's a lot to take in.
It is.
How do we even begin to make sense of all this?
The key is to keep an open mind, to question our assumptions, and to look for connections between seemingly disparate ideas. Remember, we're on a treasure hunt, and the real prize is a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
I like that. A treasure hunt for hidden knowledge. So what's the next clue on our map?
Well, the book delves into some pretty unexpected areas, including a connection between dopamine dysfunction and the spiritual harm of accepting false knowledge.
Wait, dopamine dysfunction, like the neurotransmitter in our brains, what does that have to do with spirituality?
That's what I thought too. But the book makes a compelling case for the interconnectedness of our physical and spiritual well-being. It suggests that dopamine, which plays a role in pleasure and motivation, can be seen as a physical parallel to the spiritual state of being aligned with truth.
So just as dopamine dysfunction can lead to various mental and physical health issues, accepting false knowledge can lead to spiritual and emotional imbalance.
Exactly. And the book goes even further, suggesting that this spiritual imbalance might be a key factor in the cycles of rise and fall that we see throughout history.
Okay, now things are starting to get really interesting. I can't wait to explore this further and see where it leads.
Me too. This deep dive is already proving to be quite an adventure. Picking up on this idea of spiritual imbalance leading to societal collapse, the book dives deeper into the story of Noah's Ark.
Okay, most people know that story. But I'm guessing we're not just talking about a Sunday school lesson here.
Not exactly. The book presents evidence from various fields, geology, archaeology, even mythology, to argue that the story of Noah's Ark might be based on a real cataclysmic event.
So we're talking about a literal global flood. That's a bold claim. What kind of evidence does the book offer to support this?
Well, it cites the discovery of massive animal graveyards containing the remains of extinct Pleistocene megafauna, these giant creatures that
Right.
roamed the Earth thousands of years ago. The book argues these graveyards suggest a sudden and catastrophic event rather than a gradual extinction process.
Well, like a massive flood wiping them all out almost instantly. But wouldn't scientists have already found geological evidence of a global flood if it had happened?
That's where things get a bit murky. The book challenges conventional geological interpretations and suggests that evidence of such a flood might be hidden or misinterpreted.
Okay.
It also points to the prevalence of flood myths in cultures all around the world.
That's true. Almost every culture has some kind of flood myth. Could that be a collective memory of a global cataclysm that reshaped the Earth?
That's what the book proposes. It makes you wonder if there's more to those ancient stories than we realize, perhaps echoes of a forgotten past.
Okay, so we're venturing into the realm of alternative history theories here, questioning what we thought we knew about the past. And speaking of questioning established narratives, the book also challenges the conventional understanding of time itself.
Right. The author argues that the calendar we use today might be based on a distorted or incomplete understanding of time. The book points to ancient calendars that were based on cycles of cosmic events, like the precession of the equinoxes.
Okay, for those of us who aren't astronomers, can you explain what the precession of the equinoxes is?
Simply put, it's a slow wobble in the Earth's axis of rotation. It takes about 26,000 years for the Earth to complete one full wobble.
Wow.
The book suggests that ancient cultures were aware of this cycle and built it into their calendars.
So they had a more cyclical and interconnected view of time than our linear model, where time just marches forward in a straight line.
Exactly. And the book suggests that this distorted view of time might be part of that matrix of illusion we talked about earlier, a way of keeping us trapped in a limited perception of reality.
That makes you wonder what we might discover if we could break free from that limited perception and see time in a new way. The book seems to hint that ancient languages might hold some clues.
That's right. The book delves into the mysteries of ancient languages, like the Ogham script, an ancient Celtic alphabet.
Okay.
The script is said to have been used for divination and communication with other realms.
It's like a secret code. That unlocks the mysteries of the Celtic worldview. And the book suggests that other ancient languages might contain similar hidden wisdom, right?
Exactly. It ties into that idea that there's a deeper layer of reality, a hidden history that we can access if we learn how to decode those ancient languages.
Okay, so we've got these interconnected threads. Cyclical history, a distorted view of time, ancient languages holding hidden wisdom. It's like we're piecing together a puzzle, but some of the pieces are still missing. The book also talks about the challenges of awakening from that matrix of illusion, right?
Yes, and the author emphasizes the importance of developing critical thinking skills, of questioning our assumptions, and of seeking out multiple perspectives.
Because if we're trapped in this matrix, we might not even realize we're trapped. We need to be able to see through the illusion, to question what we've been told, and to seek out the truth for ourselves.
Exactly. And the book warns that this process of awakening can be challenging and even painful at times.
By painful, what makes it so difficult?
It's like we have to confront our deepest fears and illusions in order to break free. The book suggests that there are forces within the matrix that actively seek to keep us asleep, to keep us from questioning the status quo.
So we're not just talking about intellectual curiosity here, but a real struggle against unseen forces that want to keep us in the dark. It's a little unsettling. But it also makes this search for truth even more important, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. The stakes are high. But the book also assures us that we have the power to overcome these challenges. It emphasizes the importance of connecting with our higher selves, our inner guidance system, and of finding allies and mentors who can support us on this journey.
So we're not alone in this struggle. There are others who are awake, who can guide us and help us navigate these challenges.
That's right. The book emphasizes the importance of community, of finding like-minded individuals who are also on this path of seeking truth. And the book suggests that certain practices, like meditation, mindfulness, and energy work, can help us strengthen our connection to our higher selves and weaken the grip of the matrix.
Okay, so it's not just about thinking differently. It's about living differently. It's about aligning our thoughts, beliefs, and actions with our true nature, with a deeper understanding of reality.
Exactly. And the book offers specific advice on how to do that, how to develop discernment, how to distinguish between truth and falsehood in a world of competing narratives.
That's so important, especially now. With all the information overload and misinformation out there, how do we develop that discernment?
The book suggests that it's a combination of critical thinking intuition and a willingness to question everything. It's about developing that inner compass, that sense of what resonates with us as truth.
And it's about being willing to change our minds when
Yeah.
presented with new evidence, even if it challenges our long-held beliefs.
Right. And the book also cautions against falling into the trap of paranoia, of seeing conspiracies everywhere. It's about finding that balance between recognizing the real dangers that exist while maintaining a clear and grounded perspective.
So we don't want to become so fearful that we shut ourselves off from the world or from others who might offer valuable insights.
Exactly. It's a delicate dance. But by developing our discernment, by connecting with our higher selves, and by finding supportive communities, we can navigate these challenges and emerge stronger and wiser.
And hopefully a little more awake to the true nature of reality. Now, the book also dives into some pretty provocative historical theories. It claims that history might not be what we think it is, that there's a hidden history, a secret narrative that's been suppressed or distorted over time.
That's right. The book challenges the conventional chronology of ancient Egypt, suggesting that the timeline might be much longer than we currently believe.
We're talking about potentially lost civilizations,
Yeah.
forgotten dynasties, and maybe even evidence of advanced technologies that have been erased from the official records.
Exactly. The book points to numerous anomalies and inconsistencies in the historical record to support this claim. It also questions the traditional narratives of ancient Greece and Rome, suggesting that those narratives might be based on propaganda.
It makes you wonder who's controlling the narrative and why. The book seems to suggest that there are powerful forces that have a vested interest in keeping us ignorant of the true history.
That's a possibility the book certainly raises, and it makes the search for truth even more crucial, wouldn't you say?
It does. If we don't understand the past, we're doomed to repeat its mistakes.
Right.
Okay. But if history's been distorted, how do we even begin to uncover the truth? Where do we start?
The book offers a few suggestions. One is to look for the inconsistencies, the anomalies, the things that don't quite fit the official narrative.
Like those megalithic structures we talked about earlier, the ones that seem too advanced for their time.
Exactly. The book also suggests that we look to alternative sources of information, like ancient myths, esoteric teachings, and even the work of independent researchers who are challenging the mainstream paradigm.
So it's about expanding our sources of information, looking beyond the textbooks and the official histories. It's about becoming our own historians in a way.
Precisely. And the book emphasizes the importance of intuition, of trusting that inner voice. That tells us when something doesn't feel right, even if we can't logically explain it.
It's like we have to become detectives, sifting through the evidence, following the clues, and trusting our gut instincts.
That's a good analogy. And the book also suggests that we look for patterns, for connections between seemingly unrelated events.
Like the connection between dopamine dysfunction and spiritual imbalance. That was a pretty unexpected link.
Right. The book encourages us to think outside the box, to be open to new possibilities, and to trust that the universe will reveal its secrets to those who seek them diligently.
Okay, so we've got a lot to think about here. We're talking about challenging the official narrative, uncovering hidden history, and developing our intuition and discernment. It's a lot to take in.
It is, but it's also incredibly exciting. It's like we're on the verge of a major paradigm shift, a new understanding of ourselves and the universe. And the book offers us a roadmap for navigating this transition.
I like that. A roadmap for a new paradigm. So where does this roadmap lead? What's the destination?
That's a great question, and it's one that we'll explore further as we continue our deep dive into this fascinating book.
Okay, as we journey deeper into this secret history, the book takes a turn into the truly mind-bending. The idea that beings exist
Okay.
in higher densities of reality, beyond what we normally perceive.
Yes, this is where the book's blend of history and esoteric knowledge really ramps up. It argues that these higher density beings can interact with our reality in ways we might not even be aware of.
All right, well, I have to admit, this is where I start to get a little skeptical. Higher densities of reality. Sounds like something out of a science fiction movie.
I can see that.
How does the book even attempt to explain what that means?
It uses the analogy of a ladder with multiple rungs, each rung representing a different level of reality,
Yeah.
a different density of consciousness and energy. Our everyday reality is just one rung on this ladder.
So are we talking about beings that are more evolved than us,
Yeah.
existing on these higher rungs? Like what angels, aliens, interdimensional travelers?
The book draws upon a variety of sources to support this idea. Ancient myths, esoteric teachings, even modern accounts of UFO encounters and paranormal phenomena.
So it's not just relying on one type of evidence, but trying to create a more holistic picture by weaving together these different threads.
Right.
But how do we know if any of this is credible? I mean, myths or stories, UFO sightings are often debunked, and paranormal stuff can be pretty subjective.
That's where discernment comes in, being able to evaluate the information critically and decide what resonates with you as truth. The book certainly pushes the boundaries of conventional thinking, but it also encourages readers to question everything and to form their own conclusions.
That's fair. But let's say, for argument's sake, that these higher density beings do exist. Why should our listener care? How does it impact their life?
The book suggests that these beings aren't just distant observers. They can influence our thoughts, emotions, even our actions, in subtle ways.
So you're saying there's a possibility that we're being manipulated by these beings without even realizing it. That's kind of a creepy thought.
It's a possibility the book certainly raises, which is why it stresses the importance of self-awareness, of paying attention to those subtle influences that might be shaping our reality.
But isn't that a slippery slope towards paranoia? Seeing hidden agendas everywhere, how do we find that balance between healthy skepticism and, well, just going down a rabbit hole of conspiracy theories?
The book acknowledges that risk and emphasizes the importance of staying grounded, of checking in with our intuition, and not getting swept up in fear-based narratives.
So it's about taking responsibility for our own reality, recognizing that we have choices in how we respond to these influences, whether we're conscious of them or not.
Exactly. We're not just passive pawns in this cosmic game, as the book puts it. We have free will, and we can choose to align ourselves with what resonates with us as truth, love, and compassion.
Okay, that makes sense. So even if we entertain this idea of higher density beings, the book is ultimately about empowering us to make conscious choices.
Right. And it offers practical tools and techniques to help us do that, beyond just the esoteric stuff.
Like what? Give our listener an example of something they can actually apply to their life.
Well, one of the most fundamental tools the book emphasizes is the importance of questioning our assumptions about everything.
We've talked about that before, how questioning the matrix is key to waking up.
Exactly. The book encourages us to challenge everything we think we know, to look for evidence, and to be willing to change our minds. When presented with new information, it's about becoming active seekers of truth, rather than passive recipients of whatever information is thrown our way.
That's a great reminder, especially in today's world where we're bombarded with so much information. But how do we even know where to start questioning?
The book suggests starting with those areas of your life where you feel the most stuck, the most frustrated, or the most confused. Those are often the places where your assumptions are the strongest and where the most potential for growth lies.
So it's about being honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
About what we truly believe and why, even if those beliefs are uncomfortable to examine.
Yes, and that can be challenging, but it's also incredibly liberating. It allows us to break free from those limiting beliefs that are holding us back from living our full potential.
Now, besides questioning our assumptions, are there other practical tools the book suggests?
It highly recommends the practice of mindfulness, being present in the moment, paying attention to our thoughts, feelings, and sensations without judgment.
I've heard of mindfulness, but I've always struggled with meditation and that kind of thing. It seems so hard to quiet my mind.
It does take practice, but even a few minutes a day can make a difference. The point is to become more aware of the patterns and habits that are keeping us stuck in the matrix, to step outside the autopilot of our mind and become more conscious of our choices.
So we're not trying to stop our thoughts altogether, but rather to observe them without getting swept away by them.
Exactly. And over time, this practice can help us gain a greater sense of control over our thoughts and emotions, which can have a ripple effect on all areas of our lives.
Okay, I'm willing to give it a try. The book also talks about connecting with nature as a way to break free from the matrix, right?
Yes, it emphasizes the importance of spending time in nature, not just for relaxation, but as a way to reconnect with the natural rhythms of life and to tap into a deeper wisdom.
It's like we're plugging back into the source of our being when we're in nature, away from the noise and distractions of our modern world.
Exactly. And that connection can help us see the world with fresh eyes, to appreciate the beauty and wonder that often goes unnoticed in our busy lives. It can also help us tap into our intuition and creativity.
So we've got a lot of tools in our toolkit now. Questioning our assumptions, practicing mindfulness, connecting with nature. It sounds like a recipe for a more conscious and fulfilling life.
It is, and it all ties back to that central theme of the book, empowering the individual to break free from limitations and create a more positive and harmonious reality for themselves and for the world.
Okay, as we start to wrap up this deep dive, I want to circle back to the idea of cyclical history, something that really resonated with me throughout this discussion.
Yes, that's a key concept. The idea that we're not just living through a random series of events, but that there's a pattern, a rhythm to history. And understanding that pattern can give us valuable insights.
So where do we fit into this cycle? What does this secret history tell us about our current moment in time?
The book suggests that we're at a pivotal point in history, a time of great upheaval and transformation, where the old systems are crumbling and a new world is struggling to be born.
It definitely feels that way with all the changes happening around us. But where do we go from here? What does the book say about the future?
It doesn't offer specific predictions, but it emphasizes the power of choice both individually and collectively. It's up to each of us to decide what role we want to play in this transformation. Do we cling to the past, or do we embrace the future? Do we remain asleep in the matrix, or do we awaken to our true potential?
Those are powerful questions. And it sounds like the book is ultimately a call to action, to wake up and consciously participate in creating the future we want to see.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we're not just observers of history, but active participants in shaping it.
Well, I think that's a perfect note to end on. Listener, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, exploring a book packed with fascinating and challenging ideas.
We've only scratched the surface, really. This book is a starting point, an invitation to continue questioning, exploring, and expanding your awareness.
So keep that curiosity alive. Don't be afraid to challenge your assumptions, explore different perspectives, and most importantly, trust your own intuition. The truth is a journey, not a destination, and it's waiting for you to discover it. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time, keep seeking.
Thank you for tuning in to the Power Book of Podcasts. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and join our growing community. Click the bell icon so you never miss an update. We have so much more inspiring content coming your way.